Hello, everyone. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and it's Friday. And, I guess Friday meant more when you were a kid and it meant that everyone was going to have the weekend off and whatnot. But hey, it's the weekend. It's payday for a lot of people, though. So it's good to be on the weekend. Today we're going to be talking about New Jersey, which is going to teach gender ideology to kids, which Ron DeSantis' spokesperson said sarcastically, but she said, but all the smartest people told me that this doesn't actually happen. And so people on the left are just really determined to prove people on the right correct. And then they gaslight you like you're not seeing exactly what you're seeing. It's very bizarre. So we'll be talking about that. Briefly want to mention Ron DeSantis just signed a bill, so you do not have to die alone in a hospital, which just seems like common freaking courtesy. So good job to Ron DeSantis. And Disney, there's more stuff that's continued to leak out. There's a video that popped out of some of the activists that have been leaked before, Bob Chapek, just sort of groveling in a pathetic sort of manner, I guess. And you could say, oh, he's just trying to, I don't know, reach out and show inclusion to the alphabet mafia. However, there clearly are some activists who are trying to sway the company in a particular direction. And he has a lot of employees, some who are protesting at amusement parks, who are saying, hey, we do not want our company to be this political. We like the magic of his telling stories that can bring people together. But Disney doesn't want to do that, and neither do like the little other companies that they gobbled up either. Star Wars and Marvel. Marvel's so awful right now, especially the comic books, but you've seen it bleed into the films. You've seen it bleed into the films, into the TV shows. And then they have other sort of cartoons and little videos that they've made and created that are pretty woke, but you'll see it more integrated more into probably everything that you watch coming out of there. And they own more than cartoons and the major franchises. A lot of the TV shows that you watch are by Disney and ABC. They just own so much. So at the very least, people need to stand up and let their dollar speak a bit. You know, at the very least, you can just speak up, but something more powerful would be a lot of people exercising the power of their dollar. And you don't just have to not watch stuff. You have to go invest in other stuff. And so conservatives, people have noted they have no culture and they just complain a lot. So that's why you have people like Eric July, for example, who's making his own comic books. You have the Daily Wire, who's creating their own content, just movies that they want to see, not necessarily even political films, just movies that they like and they want to produce. But they also announced recently that they're going to make kid shows, which is great. And I think that's the wave of the future. And then you got people like Elon Musk that can just like buy the biggest share, become the biggest shareholder of Twitter. Not everyone has those sort of resources, but you can play a part by, just supporting people who support your values. So at the very least, you can do that. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, different articles and so on. Please check out the merchandise that I have, like the goat hoodie and goat shirt. Someone was really triggered by this online, and he was quite a funny looking character. So I did decide to highlight him. It ended up with me getting blocked. But mostly I decided to go at him, not just because he didn't like my shirts, which objectively my shirts are awesome. You may not like the people on the hoodie and the shirt, but everyone's like, oh my gosh, the design's amazing. So it's a cool shirt. I don't care what you say. But he said that I look to the people on the shirt or follow them because I think they'll empower me or give me power, and that I'm oppressed, and that I'm showing internalized racism, which this all spawned off because I made fun of Joe Biden. So that was, I don't know, bizarre to me. I don't think making fun of Biden, which a lot of people do, even on the left, he's very funny and sad, I think, but fair, you got to laugh sometimes so you won't cry, I suppose. And then they said that was displaying internalized racism. So I just pointed out, when you say stuff like that, it makes you look racist, and said some other things. But anyway, don't come for me because I will embarrass you. As someone also today said on my page that they're going to tell my church that I'm a liar. And I don't know what they thought would happen. Like I'd get ostracized, and specifically, they thought I was telling lies about Ketanji Brown and her record. And then they started posting fact check articles, which, some of these fact check articles are just so not fact checky. Like they really go in a roundabout way to tell their narrative rather than just, I don't know, report the facts. And I'm not sure what sort of claim. They didn't even like link it to something specifically I had said. They're just posting like fact checks. I'm like, what do you think that I said that it's actually wrong that you're addressing? Didn't make that clear, but they said I'm a liar and they're going to tell it at my church. So I screenshot that piece and I shared it. And I said, my brother is the pastor of my church. My dad and my grandmother, who's gone on to be the Lord, they founded the church. If she went to go complain on the church's page, I'd be one of the administrators. So it's like, I am the manager, Karen. So I don't know what people expect. And there are people pointing out, like, some people just like to argue and have no one else to argue with in person. So they live their life online. And that's true. There's a lot of sad people out there. But hey, you come on my page. I plan to embarrass you if you plan to act a fool. It's fun. Oh, someone's from Colorado. Dear God. What's going in Colorado? Those new that new abortion bill that got passed. Whoa. You need some help out there, man. You need some help out there in Colorado. Just looking at the comments. Florida, God bless you. Greatest state in the union, it seems like. I know Texas used to argue about that, but come on. Florida's rocking it, but you guys have the greatest governor in the country. I'm interested if anyone has any other suggestions for who could be a greater governor than DeSantis, but I think basically everyone from every state would probably say it's DeSantis. Someone said, Miss Colorado said, we need help. You do need help. That's why I'm at least here anyway, informing stuff, and hopefully more people will watch, and you guys will, I don't know, make some turn the tide. But I think when you have a lot of, they have voting by mail in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a lot of people who may not be motivated to be necessarily informed, who have a very informed, they don't have a high motivation to necessarily be informed, but they have very, very easy access to vote. And I'm not saying that it should necessarily be harder to vote, but I'm not excited when people just have raw numbers like, look how many people voted. I'm like, I'd rather know that these people are making informed decisions about their lives. I don't think it's some kind of moral good that we just have so many people participating in democracy when the person next to you is an idiot who doesn't know who the people are on the ballot. That's not a moral good. And what benefit is that to our democracy or not democracy? We're not a straight democracy, constitutional republic, etc. But I just don't see what benefit that is. That's how it works though, or it doesn't work in this case. It's not working out too well with the Biden situation. But anyway, before I get into the stories, I do want to thank Brighton Michigan PAC. I'm in their studio today. If I said something today that bugs you or triggers you, they don't care. I don't care. It doesn't work like that, but I do appreciate them and how they want to uplift conservative voices like mine and all the work that they do in Michigan. I don't have a meme for you guys today. I'm sorry about that. But before I just want to say really quickly, Facebook really likes to flag stuff, and people will name ownership of stuff on my videos, like clips that I use and stuff that aren't even theirs. It's so bizarre. And the counter that I have at the beginning is something that I use through the streaming service that I use, and someone for the past entire week, it gets flagged every time. And I have to keep doing a dispute and they release it because they don't own it and I have the right to use it. So anyway, I'm gonna just make a different sort of counter. It's not gonna be anything that's earth shattering, but if you see something as the show starts and it's a little bit different, that's why. It's really annoying. Like, and it's not just that thing. Like sometimes I'll have a play a clip of something and it'll be like Newsmax claims this is theirs. I'm like, Newsmax is lying. And it doesn't matter because it's free use, but or fair use rather. So it's really annoying on the Facebook and YouTube you don't have that problem, but I think YouTube to me seems a little more sensitive on what they'll flag you for, especially in the height of the COVID pandemic. But most of the stuff I got flagged for is because I said stuff about Canada. They had some kind of inside person protecting Trudeau or something. But anyway, let's move on to the first story. So New Jersey. Dear God, what's wrong with you people? What is going on? Now you almost outstood your your governor there, and maybe perhaps if they had poured a little more resources and time, you could have done that. As a matter of fact, I think Mitch McConnell was like, "Oh, we did well in New Jersey, and we didn't even know we were competitive." I'm like, that's not a flex, in my opinion. That's not a flex. It's not a flex. You really should have put your heart and soul into that if it was possible. Just my opinion. But New Jersey apparently is going to be teaching requiring second graders to learn about gender identity in the fall. So we got some. I don't know. There was a ad that started playing. I'm not sure if you guys could hear that through my headphones or not. Sorry about that. Fox ads. I have the article pulled up. So yeah, that's really strange. And so one of the reps or people who voted against it, Holly Shepsey, said although I voted against the legislation mandating certain sexual education classes for even the youngest of children, I've taken a measured approach and have waited to further comment until I saw what was proposed. Today, I reviewed all of the model school instruction materials, and I truly think New Jersey has lost its bleep mind. Below is a Dropbox link which enables parents to review what their children will be taught. While some of the lessons I agree with, many are completely overboard with cringy detail for young kids, and some go far as unnecessarily sexualizing children further. For me, the most outrageous part are teachers are instructed to promote a website, Amaze, and its YouTube channel to kids as young as 9 for them to get additional information on sex ed. One of the very first videos posted normalizes porn as something everyone watches, and hey, it's free. I encourage all parents to take a look and decide if this is something they deem appropriate for kids this age. And they have a Dropbox link. And unfortunately for you beautiful people, I'm going to play this video. I apologize in advance, but at the same time, you need to know one of my favorite comments, and I mentioned this yesterday, was that someone said a comment in a review. Was someone trying to give me a negative review, which you beautiful people were great. Some of you left positive reviews and then trolled the people who left negative reviews. You guys are great. But somebody said, I wish half the stuff she said wasn't true because it's horrific. And I'm like, I feel the gosh darn same way. A lot of this stuff is crazy. I saw someone post some stuff on Libs for TikTok page today, and they're like, it's too much. It's like they said their page is getting to be a drag because a lot of the stuff they keep showing is busting stories about New Jersey and Disney and other stuff like that. And they're like, I guess they thought it was just all fun and games when you just laughed at feminists saying dumb stuff or just crazy stuff here and there about the gender off it mop alphabet mafia people, and they I guess they just wanted a couple laughs. But honestly, Libs of TikTok is doing the Lord's work right now. Some of the most important investigative journalism. And if you don't follow the page, you should, and you should go to their TikTok page and then subscribe to their email, because I'm surprised they still have a TikTok, honest to God, but hopefully that they'll never have to worry if Elon Musk, you know, whips that place into shape, which, by the way, he's having some kind of town hall or something with the employees, which should be fun. I can't wait to hear what happens in there. But I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't like that it exists. I don't like that this is a problem in our world and something that we have to be concerned about. Like there's people who believe like, oh, these Republicans are just jumping on it because they want to destroy public schools. I graduated from a nice public school that I really liked. I really liked where I graduated. I first came out of like inner city schools that weren't as great or whatever. But moving on to where I graduated, I really liked that school. I liked my principal. I liked some of my teachers. There's some I didn't care for. Not that I didn't have bad experiences, and not that I didn't have a few teachers who tried to push their liberal ideas on me, in which I can only think of. I know I had several liberal teachers, but there was two that were really aggressive. But I happen to be pretty aggressive back, and not every kid has that. So they probably converted and confused a couple kids, but I wasn't that kid. It was like, try me not. Like I watch the news. I have facts and stuff. So I enjoyed my high school experience and stuff. But the world is so different today, and I would not personally want to put a kid in public school. Never. And the more stuff I see, the more radical I am on this position. To me, it reminds me of like, have you guys ever watched Harry Potter? Which I didn't watch till I was older, because when I was a kid, we weren't allowed to watch it or read it, I guess rather. And I was watching Harry Potter, and I just thought it was so weird. The parents kept sending their kids to Hogwarts. And I'm like, this place is extraordinarily dangerous. It's like, why are you guys sending your kids to Hogwarts to die? There's all these radical students, these radical teachers. Some of them are gosh darn terrorists. And there's gonna be trouble there, especially with Harry Potter, who's a good kid, but he's a freaking Horcrux of Voldemort, which they didn't know at first. But I'm like, why are you sending your kids to Hogwarts to die? And I'm getting to the point where I feel about that about public schools. Honestly. And I don't want that. I don't like driving when I go through Pontiac and stuff, and I see the schools that I used to go to as a child. I don't like the feeling that I get when I see them run down and abandoned. And kids moving into the other schools in the district and stuff like that. But a lot of people moved out of the city and stuff, where greener pastures and stuff. But internally, I'm like, the community where I grew up in is just kind of dying, and I don't like that feeling. I don't like that reality. But it's like, you better save your own child. That's what I feel like, and I don't like this reality. But this is what it is. And if you mention it, and if you bring it up to the forefront, the left is like, I don't know what you're talking about. They try to gaslight you if it doesn't exist. And the Don't Say Gay bill, which is a parental rights and education bill that Ron DeSantis signed and the media went crazy for, even though majority of people agree with it when they read the legislation, they don't care. They still want to push their narrative. They were like, this kind of stuff is unnecessary. It doesn't exist. But then in New Jersey, you literally have people pass a bill that you have to learn this stuff. It's the total flip of the coin. So I've delayed enough. I'm going to show you this video that in New Jersey, that they instruct these kids to go to this YouTube page of this group called Amaze, where they have a video about porn.
Is it normal to watch porn?
Hashtag Ask Amaze!
Yes, it's normal. Lots of people watch porn. After all, it's right there and it's free. And anyway, many people are curious about this sex stuff. But, and it's a big but, remember, porn is not real. It's just a fantasy, like superheroes movies. Bodies don't look like those in porn movies. In general, everything is exaggerated. And sex, it often looks very different in real life. So don't expect your own body or sex life once you have one to look anything like what you see in porn. Or to sound like it either.
Find out more about porn right here on Amaze.
Yeah. So that's the video. First of all, I wonder if when they uploaded that video, because YouTube asks you this, like the audience level, they ask you, is this for kids or is it not? And the audacity, if someone clicked yes to that, I don't know if they did, but obviously from the illustrations and stuff is made for kids, and obviously because they are directing kids to that YouTube page, and which has videos like that, it's made for children, and that is sick. That is sick. And you know what? If you read up on porn and people who get addicted to porn, it's people who are a lot of people will get addicted at around that age of like 9 and stuff. 9, 10, 11. And it will start an unhealthy, lifelong association. Like it's not normal. It's not normal. It doesn't do normal things to people. You can say there's a huge amount of people who do it. It's not normal. Shouldn't be normalized, and it doesn't create a normal atmosphere within people's hearts, people's minds, people's relationships. And they're correct that what people will see, I'm assuming, because I've never watched anything like that, that is not going to be like what your actual real life relationships are like. That's true. But to be like, learn more about porn. Ooh, like red alarms. My gosh. If I was a parent in any state, but let's say New Jersey, and they decided to play that, or my kid was home and I don't know, were instructed from the lesson plan to click on that or something, and then I found out about it, someone might find me in jail. I like that is like murderously angry, like not literally, because it's not worth me, not seeing my family again, but people are testing the limits with this stuff. Testing the limits with this stuff. Do people realize the damage you can do to children? And I'm sure they do. But Pornhub, all these other sites and stuff, they make a lot of money. And there's a lot of people who want to protect that kind of stuff. Some years ago, maybe it was like 2-3 years ago, now Matt Walsh was talking from the Daily Wire, was talking about the young ages that people will be addicted to porn and start to get into it. And he's like, there should be more regulations because children cannot consent to sex. And if they come upon something like this is sexual assault. This is sexual harassment. They can't consent to something like this. They're very young. So having a video like this saying, learn more about porn, that's not appropriate. Of course, it's grooming. People don't like the word groomer. We talked about that yesterday. Tell me that's not grooming. But anyway, when Matt was like, there needs to be more regulation, there's all these libertarians are like, no, there shouldn't be. You're just a bad parent. This world is wicked today. And people have so much access to stuff. And they said it like, it's free. So, you can be the best parent of the world in the world, and somebody maybe that you even trust expose your kid to the wrong thing, maybe because they're not watching their kid or something like that, or maybe it's a teacher. I don't know. There was a couple of teachers, I think both in maybe it was 2 in Oregon recently, who got busted for sexual assault. One of them wanted like nudes of the students and stuff. So you don't know. Just because your kid gets exposed to something doesn't necessarily it'll make you feel like a terrible parent. But you can't just say, "Oh, be a better parent." Yeah, trying to force regulations and stuff and protect your kid is being a better parent. That is being a better parent. So that's what's going on in New Jersey. Let me read a little bit of the Fox News article. Sample lesson plan says you might feel like you're a boy, even if you have body parts that some people might tell you are girl parts. The standards listed performance expectations for second graders, which include discussing the range of ways people express their gender and how gender role stereotypes may limit behavior. Educators in the Garden State are preparing to carry out the teaching standards, which were established in 2020, but not required to be enacted until September 2022. Ooh, so this has been on the books for a minute? Really? Really? So in Florida, when they're like, people are trying to say this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen, it had literally already happened, just had not been enacted yet. That's interesting. One school district in the state distributed sample lessons indicating first graders could be taught they have boy parts but feel like a girl. Lesson plans, which were given to parents at the Westfield Board of Education February 22 meeting, appeared to be reflective of the Garden State's new broader sex education curriculum. One lesson plan, purple, pink, and blue, instructs teachers to talk to their first graders about gender identity, and its first objective is to have the students be able to define gender identity, and gender role stereotypes. The lesson's second objective is to have students name at least 2 things they've been taught about gender role stereotypes and how those things may limit people of all genders. Gender identity is that feeling of knowing your gender. You might feel like you're a boy. You might feel like you are a girl, the lesson plan states. You might feel like you're a boy even if you have boy body parts that some people might tell you are girl parts. You might feel like you're a girl even if you have body parts that some people might tell you are boy parts. And if you might not feel like you're a boy or girl, you're a bit of both. No matter how you feel, you're perfectly normal. So if you actually like asked a first grader, second grader, or anyone, like what do you mean by that? What do you think? What do you mean by you feel like a girl? It's usually will stump them there. Um, but people may start describing feminine stereotypes. Go away like frilly dressy things. Like not all women like that. It doesn't make you a woman. So, and so at the same time where people don't want people to have gender roles, or they want things to be more neutral, like get rid of the boy toy aisle and the girl toy aisle and stuff, even though boys are going to buy more action figures and girls are going to want Barbies. Like, and it's fine if a girl does want action figures. My youngest sister liked Bionicles back in the day, but she still liked her Barbies. My brother never liked Barbies, for example. So, um, and boys prefer boy toys and not so much like girl action figures and stuff. Todd McFarland it ticks some people off because he's really big with the toy design and stuff. He like made Spawn and stuff, but he was in hot water, I guess. Not really hot water, but people complain about stuff because he's just explaining how the toy market works and just objective reality of like the purchasing powers and decisions of families and children and what they like, evidently through their gender roles. So people on one hand want to get rid of those sort of realities and make it so it's just the kids section, so you're just wasting everybody's time and have the boys and girls sorted out. But you want to base people's identity off of pure stereotypes. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, another lesson plan for second graders, understanding our bodies, tells teachers to instruct students that there are some body parts that mostly just girls have and some parts that mostly just boys have. Being a boy or a girl doesn't have to mean you have those parts, but for most people, this is how their bodies are, the plan states. Most people have a vulva and a vagina or a penis and testicles, but some people's bodies can be different. Your body is exactly what is right for you. The objectives for the second grade lesson include having children be able to identify at least 4 body parts from female and male genitalia, and for students to describe why it is important for them to know the correct names for the genitalias. Okay. A spokesperson for Westfield Public Schools told Fox News Digital that the teaching materials were not the school district's plans. The school superintendent told Fox News Digital that the materials presented to the parents at the February Board of Education meeting were a sample list of resources aligned with the state policy. During a presentation at the February 22nd Board of Education meeting, we provided an update for the district's work to revise a comprehensive health and physical education curriculum, Superintendent Dr. Raymond Gonzalez said. The presentation included a sample list of resources aligned with the New Jersey student learning standards to be considered as school districts work on revisions to the health and PE curriculum. We made it clear at the meeting and subsequent meetings that these are resources only, they are not state mandated, and that the district is in the process of developing its revised curriculum to meet the state standards. The superintendent continued. Republicans say the lesson plans show the educational priorities of the Democrat Governor Phil Murphy's administration are misplaced. It's simple. Governor Murphy thinks he knows better how to parent your children than you do. Alexandra Wilkes, the New Jersey GOP's communication director, told Fox Digital, the shocking graphic materials taught to children barely old enough to read and write fly in the face of the Democrats' insistence on the campaign trail last fall that critics of these new standards were exaggerating or even bigoted for raising concerns in the first place. Democrats lied to parents, belittled and shamed them for wanting to a say in their children's education, and they're about to find out this November what happens when you mess with other people's kids. Heck yes. Heck yes, people are about to find out. Legislators in the state also blasted the Murphy's administration over the school district's lesson plans. State Senator Holly Shepesi, a Republican who was sent the materials by concerned parents, told Fox News Digital, as a mom and a legislator, I can appreciate the need for students to receive age-appropriate instruction, but this is beyond the pale. We knew that when Governor Murphy used the cover of the pandemic to push these new standards through, that something was terribly wrong. And now we can clearly see why they needed to do this in secret. The agenda has swung so far left in an attempt to sexualize our precious children that parents are fighting back. Based on the overall outreach I have received from parents, Democrats should expect a reckoning this fall. So there's a little bit more, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I would rather not this be true. I'd rather this not be true. Unfortunately, that is the state of our world where it appears to be right now. So you got to watch what your kids are watching. You got to watch what they're learning. Insist that there's transparency. And the Democrats, teachers unions, all these people are hoping that parents are just too busy with their own, drama, with their own work, with, watching SWAT when it comes on TV, whatever you're into, that you're just going to be a little too burned out to be that invested, that you'll just put all your trust in these people. And then, one day you'll wake up and Trigglypuff is in your room, in your child's room. You got to prove them wrong. In my opinion, I think people should pull out their kids. I don't think you should trust to leave them in the New Jersey school districts. I don't. I think you should pull out every single person possible. That's what I think you should do. And I think you should still go to school board meetings and stuff because your tax dollars are connected to stuff. So you should always raise heck, even if your kids aren't there. But you know what? I was thinking about this on the drive over. I'm like, if everybody just decided, and you wouldn't get everybody, but if a significant amount of people just decided to opt their children out of public school, they would just make some kind of law against homeschooling or just raise up regulations and standards to make it like practically impossible because they want your kids in school. They want your kids in school. I saw this is kind of a little off topic, but last night I was scrolling through TikTok. Take it for all it's worth because I didn't follow the page, but it was an interesting thing that popped up, and someone was talking about a hydrogen car and how they wanted to build one some time ago, and so they were researching, figuring out how to do it. And so there are people online who had said that they had figured out how to do it, and then but their stuff never kind of came to fruition. So he contacted 4 or 5 people, and they're all like, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. And he had also talked about some other guy who had like made something and was going to like mass produce it. And apparently the conspiracy is he got killed. And I didn't have time to research that claim, but he told that, and then he'd start talking about the 5 people who researched. And so all of them would say, I just can't say anything about it. And then he got to the 5th person. He's like, just like, give me something. Like, what do you mean? Like, everybody's telling me I can't say anything. And they're like, basically they got paid by the government to not, to basically take their model and then not like make any more or anything like that. And he's like, well, did they pay like you double? And they're like, oh, like 10 times what it was worth. So reality is they didn't want these people making those kind of cars, because I guess the thought was, and the conspiracy was because it would be really bad for the oil companies. So people don't always do what's right for the people, obviously. So even if everybody was like, hey, I'm going to pull all our kids out of school, I'm going to homeschool them, people be livid about that. There are people who protest homeschooling all the time, and they try to make homeschooling look like it's just a bunch of, I know, weirdo Christians that are trying to make their kids into some kind of massive cult and never let them see the light of day except on the full moon when they go watch Veggie Tales collectively. I don't know. But that there's people who homeschool and it's like, I don't know, normal, okay? But they hate it. And there's people who homeschool who aren't religious in the least bit. But I think that's an option more people should look at, and we'll just have to deal with the repercussions in the government as they try to hamper down on people. But I'm pretty sure if that was like a mass exodus that started happening, they would pass some kind of legislation to make it too hard, too difficult to do it. And they're hoping that right now it's too hard and too difficult for people to do it. That's what they're hoping. That's what they're really hoping. Anyway, let's move on. Mr. Bob Chapek, there's another video that came out. That's the CEO of Disney. And this is circulating. Chris Rufo, who if you don't follow, you should follow. He's been dumping a lot of these stories, leaking a lot of these stories about the wokeness in corporate America when it comes to CRT and then also gender ideology. So he's been breaking some good stuff with Disney. It's sad, though, to see all the stuff with Disney for people, but I've been following this for a while, and if you guys have been following me for a while, you're aware of it too. But here's him talking about the Reimagine project.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day for this very important session. By now, I hope you've all read my most recent note, in which I pledged to be a better ally for the LGBTQ+ community, apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be, and committed to ensuring that our company lives up to its values. I meant every word, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I know that we've got work to do, and that work starts with listening. I'm glad the company will hear from today's panel of LGBTQ+ employees, and I hope that you are as impacted as I've been by the voices that I've heard over the past few weeks. I've read many emails that have been sent, spoken with LGBTQ+ employees and their allies, met with advocacy groups, and convened my own leadership team. And I have been taken by the honesty, the openness, and the urgency of their stories. I want you to know that your words have made a real impact on me. I understand that we've made mistakes and the pain that those mistakes have caused. And I know that our silence wasn't just about the bill in Florida, but about every time an individual or institution that should have stood up for this community did not. I and the leadership team are determined to use this moment as a catalyst for more meaningful and lasting change. We've heard many suggestions on how to do that, and we are working to move quickly. I want to thank the LGBTQIA+ Advisory Council, their allies, and everyone else who has submitted ideas on how we can take action. I am convening a meeting with all my direct reports and representatives of the Advisory Council to discuss the thoughtful suggestions that have been made. But we know the moment requires urgency and words are not enough. So we are taking some actions right now.
Yeah. So here's the problem. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, even though there's like way more people like in the religious community, we don't have any sort of like bargaining power like this. I mean, collectively we should, right? Because our numbers are way bigger than the alphabet mafia. But but unless like everyone band together and was like, you know what, no more Frozen. We're not watching Doctor Strange, no more Avengers. We're just done. Unless everyone was like cold turkey cut stuff out of their lives. I don't think like the religious community and stuff would have that any sort of sway on Disney. But they're so enamored with such a small, but I suppose growing population, and a lot of that is because of social pressure and trends and stuff. And then all the like silly little stuff that they came out with, like demisexual and except like the ace spectrum and all kinds of other stuff. Like everybody needs a flag. Everybody needs a flag. You can be anything except for super straight. If you're super straight, that'll get you banned on TikTok. And if you don't know what super straight is, someone on TikTok, there was a guy, and he said he was so annoyed. He was so annoyed with people always. Well, there are trans people on TikTok that are like, if you're not willing to sleep with a trans person, then you're transphobic. And so he said, I'm sick of people like saying that about me. So I'm creating super straight, which means I only want to sleep with people of the opposite sex and with the opposite, anatomy or whatever. And so he ended up getting banned on TikTok. And the hashtag was like banned. People who used it were like getting banned and censored and flagged. So you can talk about basically anything. You can scroll through a live and see people with the breasts all hanging out, all kinds of stuff. You can be as racist as you want to, especially to white people anyway, on TikTok. But if you say super straight, well, that hurt too many people's feelings. And then he did like an apology video that he posted on YouTube that was like not supposed to really, meant to be targeted to the LGBT and whatever. But they just were offended. They were just offended. But you can't say that, but you can do all this other kind of stuff. Have all these other flags. But super straight was too far. You can have your own, identify as a gender that just means, I think the mayor's daughter or something said, was it New York's mayor's daughter or something said that they are a demisexual or something. I can't remember the which one it was, but that just means that you only have sexual attraction to people you have deep bonds with. And it's like, so what, you're like a healthy, normal human being, and then you had to go that extra step and just make yourself weird because you're so desperate to fit in and have your own flag? Come on, guys. But no, they would not move for like every other sort of traditional sort of value person, but they'll move heaven and earth for a couple of activists within the media and a couple of activists within their company, but they have a lot of people, and some people were protesting Disney the other day and asking other conservative people to speak out. It's not a full company just run by people who have a not at all secret gay agenda. But at the end of the day, Disney's making it very clear which side they're leaning on and what their agenda is. Which, by the way, I don't know if this format is kind of what they wanted Gina Carano to do when they wanted her to apologize to like 40 LGBT people in the company. But she was like, no, I'm not doing that. And that's really probably why they let her go. Because it's not enough to be sorry. You have to grovel and bend the knee and show fealty to the whole agenda. So you guys can keep pushing Disney if you want to, but I've had a breakup. We're on a break. Me and Disney's on a break. But I thought that was kind of pathetic. This is a CEO. He should have said, look, this is what the bill is. We can go through step by step. And they could have had someone from the governor's office come by and explain. I'm sure they would have. It's a big company, especially in Florida and stuff. I'm sure they probably would have allowed, someone from the office to come over and just explain it, or someone from the legislative body to explain it detail by detail and answer some questions. And be like, you know what? A lot of the things that a lot of people are hearing are hysterical things that are not true. They don't have to put it exactly that way, but I just want to, explain the process of why we're here, give a couple examples, and show why this is needed, and show that it's very neutral in its application and it's overall meant to protect kids. Disney could have requested that, and I'm sure someone would have obliged. That's not the route that they wanted to go. Lastly, I just want to mention Ron DeSantis. They did pass a bill in Florida that you don't have to die alone in the hospital, which obviously they made that because of COVID and how so many people were forced to be alone. And I posted this story on Facebook earlier today, and people started replying about some of their stories that they had to go through and how people lost loved ones and they had to die alone. And that it was very hard. You could talk through Wi-Fi or whatever on the phone or through video. It's not the same. It's not the same fighting for your life and being alone in a hospital room. And for those of you who do not know, if you're new here, my dad did catch COVID November 2020, right after, I guess the election time, because he was too sick to go to the polls. And so the next day we took him to the doctor, and they ended up taking him to the hospital. They didn't check him first because he had similar symptoms from when he had like pneumonia, but they're like, we're pretty sure he had COVID. And we're like, did you check him first? And they're like, we're pretty sure. We put him on the COVID floor, and we're like, okay, we see where this is going. So he was there. He missed Thanksgiving, one of his favorite holidays. And he came back maybe the middle of December, but maybe it was. By the time he came home, his legs, his arms, like he lost so much weight. He was like bed bound. He had to learn how to walk again. But there are days when one day we called the hospital and they're like, he's not picking up. What's going on? And they're like, well, he doesn't know like where he is, or he doesn't know what's going on, and his memory's like gone. We're like, what are you talking about? We just talked to him the other day, and they were he explains it like he was losing his mind or in there. And it was like being on an episode of House, honestly. And each day was really hard. And when they were finally talking about sending him home, they didn't want to send him home. They wanted to send him to a nursing home. And we had family who'd gone to nursing homes and they took so bad care, that they took such poor care of them. They ended up catching a pneumonia and calling the 911 on themselves to get them picked up to go back to the hospital. That happened to my aunt, and we heard other horror stories. And of course, a lot of elderly people were dying in the nursing homes. And we're like, no, that's not going to happen. And they're like, well, we believe you guys don't know how hard it's going to be. And we're like, because he needs rehab. And I'm like, well, there's a rehab facility in the hospital, so why don't you guys take care of him there? And they're like, they're like, basically it was too difficult in the state that he was in. So they're like, we have to send it to the nursing home. And we're just kind of like, and I don't want to trash nursing home folks or whatever, but we just did not trust that they would get them to where they need to be. And then that would still be further isolation and us not seeing our father for another couple months, because they didn't expect him to walk for the longest time. And so we're like, no, we want to see him there. And then like they had doctors like talk to mom and try to like convince him. We're like, no, we want our father back. There's enough of us here. We will help to get him better. And so at one point they said, kind of alluded like, well, it could look like they wanted to do a tap in his spine or something to see about something in his brain. And we're like, well, what will you do? What will you do if you find something there? And they said like they wouldn't change the treatment or whatever, because they said he seemed to be getting better. And we're like, okay, so it seems kind of, I don't know, a little pointless if it's not going to change the treatment. You guys don't know, but at this point, my dad wasn't. We just didn't think he'd be still enough when they took that sample on his spine and one wrong poke and you could be paralyzed. And so we're like, no, we don't want to do that. And so on top of that, in the not wanting them to take him to a nursing home, they're like, well, this could look like you're refusing care. And so at that point, they were kind of threatening us as if they say we're refusing care, then the insurance wouldn't pay for it. So they did end up backing off, and they did end up bringing him home, and they brought a bed, and there was a physical therapist who would come by and stuff like that. But they didn't expect him to walk for a long time, and we did get him back up to speed way faster. And by May, he was in Mexico doing mission work. So I do believe, it's just my belief that if he wasn't alone for all that time, he probably wouldn't have deteriorated the way that he did. And I'm glad that he's better, obviously. And I heard so many heartbreaking stories of people who had family in nursing homes that they couldn't see their loved ones for over a year, whatever. Maybe some people who had like Alzheimer's and stuff, but they vastly deteriorated after not being able to see their family. So kudos to Governor Ron DeSantis. Again, I don't know a governor right now that's probably better than him. And it seems like he was someone who always wanted to follow the science, and he took a lot of flack from the media. Do you remember when they had a Grim Reaper walking along the beach in Florida? And it just wasn't that deep. It just wasn't that serious. And they told lie after lie after lie about DeSantis and wanted to tear him down. And he was just trying to do what was best for the people. And then people would flee to Florida and then rag on him, but then flee to Florida. So obviously he's trying to protect people from future abuse. And it just seems like a common sense bill that you should not need to have. But thank God that he made it, because it's cruel for the person who is ill, but it's cruel for the family to let their loved one die alone. So thank God to Ron DeSantis, and other people should follow his suit. Anyway, that is the show for today. I thank you guys for watching and for tuning in. Please visit blacktnews.com. If you like what I do, consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Please check out the different merchandise that I have on the store, and also check out different articles that I have on the website. Thank you guys for following on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and all those places. If you guys like to watch on Facebook, that's fine. I do encourage you guys to still follow other pages on YouTube and Twitch and wherever you guys might watch or might not watch, but have like accounts too and stuff. Go ahead and follow me across the different platforms. That does help with the overall engagement and numbers and so on. So please make sure that you're subscribing everywhere. God bless you guys, and I'll see you next time.